Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from New York Community Bank, AmTrust Title Insurance Company, Perfect Building Maintenance, M&T Bank, Customers Bank, Marks Paneth LLP, Capital One Bank, Collins Building Services, Meridian Capital Group. Additional support has been provided by grants from AKA Hotel Residences Corman Communities, Ariel Property Advisors, Amerant Bank, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, Chase Commercial Mortgage Lending, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Citizens Bank, Dime Community Bank, Douglaston Development Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handro Properties LLC, Handler Real Estate Organization, Hodges Ward Elliott INC, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, John Casamatides Red Apple Group, Keysight Capital Partners, Matone Group, New Banks, Newmark Knight Frank, Ocean First Bank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Services, Stonehenge NYC, SVN CPEX Real Estate Services, Tierra CRG, the Meringer Family Foundation, and these friends. I'm here with Jeffrey Levine and Ofer Yardeni, continuing our conversation on how the current pandemic is impacting business and real estate in New York City and beyond, and where we will be 1 year from now. A number of years ago, you and I were on a panel and we spoke about co-living.
Yes.
Okay, the common situation, the other people, the alley and all that. Jeff and Ofer, what's your thoughts about, in the light of today's world and what's happening, the co-living?
Well, I've never been a great fan of co-living either. I'm sure Ofer may disagree with me, but the reality is it's essentially a dormitory. And there is a time and a stage of life for dormitories. I remember years ago, the Milstein organization built two major properties through HUD financing, one up on 96th Street and one on 34th Street. The one up on 96th Street, I think, was called the Normandy. It was aptly renamed the Dormandy, because what happened was college students, after graduating, would move there in droves, and multiple young people living in the same apartment. And it was great for those people at that stage of life. But I think as you go on in life, and obviously 30 may be the new 20, and people may be developing their families and developing their livelihoods later on in life. But the reality is, at a certain point, I think people don't want to live in a dormitory type environment. So in the long term, again, I'm not a great fan of co-living. In the short term, I think there is a market, but I don't think the market is so broad that I would focus my business upon.
Jeff, you'll be surprised, but I agree with you 100%. I am not opposed to co-sharing because New York, as I said to you before, I have 3,000 units with 5,000 tenants. I understand the dynamics of New York City, low supply, huge demand, and the rents extremely high. So people are sharing apartment. When I moved to this country, for the first few years, I shared apartment, and I think that this is the New York way. But when you're 35 years old and you go and you live with 10 people and you share the kitchen and the bathroom, I don't believe it's sustainable. I believe it for a certain segment that maybe after college, people want to live for a year or two, but I don't think I would build a business with that. The collection is not as high as Jeff and I collections are. The repair and maintenance are a lot higher. The management is a lot more intense. So I believe that the co-living is dead.
There are also a
and
lot of regulatory issues, Ofer. In New York City, between the rent stabilization laws and the number of residents in the lease structure in most stabilized buildings, it's very difficult to have a format where multiple people can share an apartment and have individual rents which they pay. And if you're going to assign a dormitory captain, it doesn't work.
Since most businesses are closed today, and what's happening with landlords on deferring and postponing payments?
It's really devastating. You know, on the garages, businesses, the tenants are on a month-to-month, so they realize they live in New York. People took their car, they left New York, and they left the garages 10, 15% occupied. And I feel so much pain for the garage operator that overnight his business really got destroyed. And the same thing about retail. You know, you have families. Most of my tenants on the restaurants called me and they said to me, look, Ofer, we can't pay the rent and we are closing. And I said, I completely understand. You need to close. The first thing that you have to make sure is the healthy of you, your family, and your kids, and all your surrounding. When you will be able to open, we will sit and talk. I didn't tell them that I'm waiving the rent. I didn't say anything because I don't know yet what kind of government program are going to be there. In fact, right now that there are loans that the consumer can take, I'm sending those loans documentation to my tenants. I'm trying to help them to build their business. Not only I need them for the income, I think that New York City, the restaurants are what makes the street walk, what makes unique. We need to help them come back. If I need to reduce the rent, I will reduce the rent. But again, Stonehenge as an organization, we are not a 501c. We are not a charity organization. We have rents to pay. We have obligation. I have 220 employees that I need to make sure that they are getting paid and they are healthy. My banks are asking me to pay the loan. So it's a chain of events, but we need to work as a community. And I'm expecting from our mayor, from our governor, from our city council to work in a cohesive way. Together, we can be stronger. Together, we can build New York, and together we can come back. But Jeff and I cannot do it alone. We need their help, and together we'll make New York the #1 place in the world.
Well, it's very simple. All retail is not equal. There really is a great divide amongst the categories. We have tenants who are in the grocery business, who are in the liquor business, who are in the supermarket business, who are doing gangbuster business right now. The health and beauty aids, the pharmacies, you can't get in the doors. So obviously, where those tenants are concerned, we expect to get our rent. We've actually had calls from some such tenants and said, listen, when you're not doing business, feel free to call me. While you are doing business, pay your rent. Going a step further, we have a number of what I'll call mom and pop establishments, whether it's a small restaurant, the hair salon, the nail salon, the gym, the fitness center. You know, these non-franchise small operations are closed. They generally aren't well financed, and we expect many of those to fail. Obviously, we're not collecting any rent from those, and our position is very simple. When this ends, and it will end, whether it's a month or 2 or 3, and they get back to business, putting the burden of collecting the rent which has not been paid on the balance of the lease may in fact be too much of a burden for some of these establishments. So then we have to make an assessment as a human being first, and then as a business person second. Well, if we force this person to close because they owe us rent, and we then have to go out and we have to advertise and have a broker pay and do tenant improvements and have free rent and lost rent, are we really going to be so far ahead of the game? If we force this operator out of business, we will add our emotion and our economic analysis into the pot, and we will hopefully all come through this together.
You're both in the leasing business. You both have apartments, you have stores. Or is anybody moving into an apartment? Because most buildings won't let people move in. What's really happening with regard to the leasing market?
So on the leasing side, obviously, some people have moved to virtual leasing with video and so on. The fact of the matter is that while we are taking calls remotely, We have not been showing apartments because we are not letting strangers into the building. Even our food deliveries are stopped at the front door, and our residents who can come downstairs and get them. So we don't want strangers traipsing through the building for reasons of the virus. With regard to move outs, I will tell you something. Typically going into the spring is when we have our highest level of lease expirations, because we typically push our leases when we do a new building. We try to push our build leases not to be active from Thanksgiving till, say, Easter, because that's the winter months. That's when people are less transient. So we have a number of apartments coming available, and what we're seeing is a huge retention. I mean, all of us who are in the business love to see our retention of existing tenants in the vicinity of over 65%. I think we are looking now at the early information, and our renewals that are coming up in the month of May are already pushing 50 and 60%. With the balance, I think we could be at 80 and 85%, which is highly unusual, because I think people, just the way we are not able to have new prospective residents see our buildings, our residents are unable to go see other buildings. And there isn't a whole hell of a lot of job changing going on right now because of the unsure nature of the economy.
We are a little bit different because we believe that the future of rental apartments is going to be online. And the same way we are booking a flight on a vacation or hotel, nobody goes, if they booked a hotel in Italy a week before, to check the hotel, come back and say to his wife and kids, the hotel is good, let's move in and we can go. So we at Stonehenge have been embracing technology for the last decade. Until COVID-19, if you were a tenant that looked at our website, you could have chose a building, an apartment, look at the floor plan, get an application, get approval online, get a lease, sign a lease online. And in fact, we have Olivia, she's an AI, she's integrated on our leasing. She will answer requests from potential tenants. So we are very, very high on technology, and all our leases are signed online. The last thing that we wanted to do during this year was to create a virtual tour where people will be able to see the unit, furnished, unfurnished, but they will be able to see exact unit. The problem in our industry is that there are some landlords that showed a one unit, and when the tenant came, the unit was completely different. So there was no trust in the brand, no trust in the product. So we had everything almost ready, but then COVID-19 came, and we expedited everything to our system now. And today, I can tell you, if you go on Stonehenge Access and you push the button, it will take you to basically a tour, guided tour with video and other vehicle, where our agent, if you want, will assist you to answer you live on questions about renting those apartments. You will have a tour that you can see the unit, exact unit, furnished or non-furnished. And I'm happy to tell you that in the last, from March 13 to today, we signed 10 leases online with customers that never inspected those units. We are giving them the right to cancel the lease 5 days before they move in for May 1st. Why did I give the tenant the right to cancel the lease? For one simple reason. I trust the brand. I know that my product is a good product. I know that when they'll come to see the unit, they will take it. And you know what, Michael? If they change their mind, that's okay too. What I'm trying to do is to make the tenant and experience of the customer better, because I believe that the people who will survive and excel in this market is the people who will create service to their tenants. So I'm proud to tell you, I'm spending millions of dollars, and I'm sure it will pay off.
Jeff, you've built a couple of condominiums over your lifetime. Ofer, you converted one building to a condominium in the past. What's your thoughts today about the condo market? Are people going to buy, or going to people stay and rent?
When you build a condominium, you buy it, you plan it, you construct it, you market it. It could be a 3 or 4 year process. I cannot tell you what the 10-year treasury will be tomorrow, let alone in 3 or 4 years. That having been said, I don't like to subject myself to the vagaries of the marketplace. I like to control the market as much as I can, and that's by building a product such as a rental. I know that if I am wrong in the market for a short period of time, as we might be even right now, that eventually it will return to the market that it should be because the underlying demographics and economics dictate it. So I have waxed rich and waxed poor in the development of condominiums, and I have chosen over these past 8 or 9 years not to develop condominiums because I am far more comfortable with the economics of rentals.
So I must say to you again, there is a reason why I like Jeff, because I agree with a lot of things that he says, but I have a different spin to the condo. And again, it's some of my best friends are condo owners, and some of them use the best architect, and they did skyscrapers and buildings that are really almost art. I love when I walk there, and and there is nothing wrong with these buildings. And I wish I could have done my rental building like that. But we are in a structural change. The new luxury is owning nothing. I don't want to own a car. I don't want to own a home. I don't want to own a yacht, a plane, a watch. I don't want even to own my clothes. I want to rent a runway and rent my clothes, and every week gets them. So
you'll look good in the dress, Ofer.
Yes, thank you. I rent it, $25. So I believe that we are in a culture, we're in a structural change. The world is changing, and unfortunately, some developers think that the more they build, the more they'll sell, and they are not able to see what's ahead of them. So I believe that the condo model as a model is broken, and I don't believe that it's coming back. It's a structural change from home ownership to the flexibility of rental.
There are 3 currently under development senior housing in Manhattan. What's your thoughts right now with regard to the future of senior housing, the luxury senior housing, and the affordable senior housing, which you have, Jeffrey? Jeff?
Well, I think you know that I have been a fan of the senior housing business for over 30 years. We have built, owned, and operated over 1,500 units of assisted, independent, and senior living, both in New York and in Arizona primarily. The fact is, it's a wonderful business because it's the business where the baby boom, which is the generation which has defined our economy for these past 50 years, is now aging into senior living. By senior living, we've all aged far more healthily, and our typical occupant today enters at about the age of 80. If you do the math, the baby boom is at the front edge of the baby boom is approaching 80. But it's a very difficult business. It's not only housing, it's hospitality. We provide meals and housekeeping, as well as healthcare in many cases. So I don't recommend the business for everybody because it is a difficult business. You're specifically asking about the new businesses in New York, where there are a few developers who believe that there is demand in New York for senior living at prices of upwards of $18,000 and $20,000 a month. Well, exists such a market, just the way there is a market for Rolls-Royce and other such things. But I don't know how deep that market is, and that's not a market that I personally would pursue. But while we're talking about senior living, I just want to say something about that, because that is a part of the rental market that is under very great duress. Why? Because obviously residents of seniors, as we saw at that nursing home out in Washington, are the most at-risk category, both because of their health and their age. In operations of our facilities, we have had to spend all kinds of dollars making sure that we have sanitized, that we have extra care for our residents. We are delivering all of their meals to their units in isolation, and we are restricting all tours, which is a very big problem for the industry going forward, because seniors typically are not internet-based. They want to come and kick the tires. We are not permitting seniors into the building for fear of infecting the building with the coronavirus. So while typically across our portfolio, if we lose 3 or 4% of our residents every month to a higher level of care, or in fact, God forbid, passing on, well, we need to replace them on a regular basis, which we do, but not now because we are unable to move in or to a residence. So again, depending upon how long this coronavirus lingers, we will have great stress in the senior living business going forward, and that's something to be very concerned about. And I'd also, much as I did before, like to give a shout out to all of our employees in the senior business. Not only have they gone the extra mile in terms of sanitizing these facilities, in terms of delivering the meals. We built an affordable SARA project with the City of New York on Staten Island. We have over 200 senior residents of an affordable nature. Our employees there have been working with the Staten Island JCC as well as Mayor de Blasio City of New York programs where we have been delivering meals to these homebound seniors. So these people who, again, are subjecting themselves to the vagaries of these health issues and maintaining the proper service for the seniors, they all deserve to get, much like our hospital workers, a special note of thank you.
Where do we see the hospitality business, the hotel business, and Airbnb after COVID?
I'm not in the hotel industry. I definitely see the devastation that is going right now in New York City. I have friends that own hotel, and from occupancy of 85 to 90%, they went down to 5% or 10%. And clearly the situation is it's scary. So I think that the government will have to come with a program the way they do for the airline and the cruise line and to those major industry that they got affected, and they have to help the hotel industry. I think that the hotel industry will come back. I believe that if I was betting on the hotel industry, I would rather own the super luxury hotel business than the North Star or 1 or 2 stars, because I believe that the wealthiest people in the world will continue to travel. Airbnb, again, I love the business because it gives the ability and access to people to travel and to live in an affordable rate. But I'm very concerned is if people will go to somebody else's house today where they don't know how it's clean and managed. So I think that Airbnb will have to reduce the revenues.
What's your thoughts about allowing Airbnb operating in your buildings?
We have a mandate, no Airbnb in our buildings. We check to see that none of the tenants are subletting, and we are completely opposed because to have Airbnb in my building destroy the fact of the community. And we are doing already. We are providing our tenants 6 months leases. Tenants can come to live in New York, especially for studio and 1 bedroom, with units that are completely furnished and for 6 months, and they can choose how many months they can stay in this apartment.
Where do you see the investment sales business after COVID or even today?
Well, I think the investment sales business today is certainly on vacation. Nobody is able physically to look at properties, to get the real hard information on properties.
Price is going to go down?
Well, I think always. Listen, I have built my business by taking the opportunities that presented themselves in the aftermath of a crisis. That's when you can buy property more cost effectively if you have capital and if you have a desire specifically to develop. So I do believe that opportunities will arise out of this crisis for those who are willing to take advantage of it.
We are going to see huge purchasing by vulture funds to acquire debt at a discount to the loan, and you're going to see billions of dollars being deployed, because to buy debt, you need to read to get the fundamentals of the property. You look at the loan document, you can decide how much you want to pay below par, and you are going to buy. And I can assure you, and I know that billions of dollars are being right now deployed in the United States and New York City on acquiring debt. I also believe that you can have opportunities in the equity market. Now, Jeff is right, you need to tour, but for the sophisticated brokers from CB, JLL, Eastdale, these guys, and I work with them, they are like machines. They have due diligence. And if the price is right, a vulture will buy. The problem why you're not going to see a lot of deals in New York, it's that you do not have a lot of distress properties on the market. So you have the institution, the typical pension funds that are looking for core plus, maybe a little bit value add, that they are not going to jump to buy real estate. So you have the vultures that are trying to get opportunistic return, but there are no sellers that wants to sell at opportunistic return. So there is a mismatch between the capital and the asset. But I believe the future is that you will be able to tour a building, do all your due diligence online. Yes, you will send the engineer or the seller will do about reps and warranty, and you will be able to execute a deal, a contract.
I want to end on a very positive note. As we sit here, I'm developing the largest project I have ever developed, almost 1,000 units on 29th Street by the Hudson Yards, over 250 or so affordable units. It will be delivered in 2 or 3 years. I'm building another 240 unit assisted living business. And I'm telling you that while this virus is going to have a short term, how long we don't know until it resolves, effect on our economy and our people, that this is the best country in the world. We will survive this.
And I will end it by saying I would like to thank Jeff, Ofer, Stephen Napolitano, the entire team, the AmTrust title. Thanks again. Have a good day.
Thank you.